Nettle, that common plant found in fields and gardens, is often seen simply as a nuisance due to the immediate stinging sensation it causes upon contact. However, what many don't know is that this plant has a deep history and symbolism that dates back to ancient times, including its subtle references in sacred texts such as the Bible. In this video, we will delve into the true story of the nettle and its significance in biblical scriptures, leaving behind common misconceptions to uncover its spiritual and cultural relevance. Throughout history, nettle has been perceived in various ways. For some, it is a symbol of discomfort and pain, while for others, it represents resilience and the ability to heal. Although it is not explicitly mentioned in the most common translations of the Bible, its presence is, in some way, tied to various plants referenced in sacred texts. In its leaves, roots, and the pain caused by its touch, we can find a powerful metaphor for human suffering, purification, and transformation. Through the nettle, we are reminded that pain and suffering, though uncomfortable, are often necessary preludes to spiritual growth. It is important to understand that the nettle is not just a plant that produces an immediate reaction on our skin. It carries much deeper symbolism that connects to spiritual teachings. In many biblical passages, physical and emotional suffering is presented as a means through which people can draw closer to God, reflect on their purpose in life, and find redemption. Could it be that the nettle, then, is showing us a path to purification? This is the central question we will explore in this video. Throughout this content, we will dive into the various references that could be linked to this plant in biblical texts, unraveling its hidden meanings. But we won't stop at theory alone. We will also look at how modern interpretations of the nettle, from natural medicine to its symbolism in contemporary spiritual practices, continue to resonate in our lives. We will learn about its use in healing rituals, its role in natural therapy, and its symbolism as a tool for personal and spiritual transformation. By the end of this video, we invite you to reflect on the role of the nettle in your own life. Perhaps, just like this plant, there are times when we feel pain, discomfort, or frustration. But behind those difficult moments could be an opportunity to heal and grow spiritually. The nettle challenges us to look beyond appearances and discover the deeper meanings that may be hidden within the experiences of our lives. So stay with us until the end to discover the truth about the nettle in the Bible and how its message remains relevant to us today. This is a story that goes beyond the physical and takes us straight to the heart of the spiritual. Don't miss it. Nettle, a plant that many people dismiss as just a prickly nuisance, has an intriguing and often overlooked history, especially when we consider its symbolic meaning in various cultures throughout time. While it might seem like a simple weed, nettle has played a significant role in the lives of many ancient civilizations and holds a unique place in both spiritual and practical contexts. In this section, we will explore the historical background of the nettle, uncovering its use and symbolic relevance in different societies, and how it might even hold a connection to sacred texts, such as the Bible. The nettle is a plant that has been around for thousands of years, with evidence of its use in ancient cultures found all over the world. In ancient Egypt, for example, nettle was used in a variety of medicinal and practical ways. The ancient Egyptians recognized the plant's healing properties and used it to treat a wide range of ailments. This includes the use of nettle as a remedy for joint pain and inflammation, which is still a common application of the plant today. The Egyptians also used nettle fibers to create durable textiles and ropes, highlighting the plant's versatility and importance beyond its medicinal qualities. In ancient Greece and Rome, nettle continued to be valued for its medicinal and practical uses. Greek physician Dioscorides wrote about nettle in his famous work De Materia Medica, where he described the plant's ability to treat conditions such as arthritis, urinary problems, and even wounds. The Romans, similarly, used nettle for its healing properties, and they would often administer it to patients suffering from chronic illnesses. In fact, nettle was so highly regarded that it was included in many traditional herbal remedies throughout Europe for centuries. It wasn't just for healing, though. The Romans also used nettle in various rituals and ceremonies, linking the plant to both physical and spiritual practices. Nettle's symbolic significance extends beyond its practical uses. Throughout history, the plant has been associated with strength, resilience, and transformation. In many cultures, nettle was seen as a symbol of endurance, as it could thrive in even the harshest of conditions. Its ability to withstand adversity made it a powerful metaphor for overcoming life's challenges. In Norse mythology, for example, nettle was seen as a symbol of protection, and it was believed to ward off evil spirits. The plant's sharp stingers, which can cause intense pain when touched, were viewed as a reminder that life is not always easy, but strength and resilience are required to navigate it. In the Christian tradition, while nettle is not directly mentioned in the Bible, its symbolism can still be connected to key themes found within the Scriptures. In the Old Testament, the concept of suffering and purification is prevalent, and nettle may represent these ideas. The plant's prickly nature could be seen as a metaphor for the trials and tribulations that people face in life. Just as the nettle causes pain upon contact, life's difficulties often lead to growth and transformation. The Bible speaks of how suffering can purify the soul, and this resonates with the qualities of the nettle. It's a painful plant, but one that can lead to healing and change when approached with the right mindset. Moreover, nettle's association with healing ties into the biblical idea of restoration and renewal. In ancient times, the Bible used plants and herbs as symbols of divine healing and hope. While nettle may not be explicitly mentioned, its place in traditional medicine and its ability to heal the body could easily align with these concepts. In the book of Exodus, for instance, God promises to heal the Israelites when they trust in Him. And nettle's role in healing could represent this divine promise of restoration. The nettle, with its sharp, painful sting, mirrors the suffering that may precede spiritual healing and renewal. Nettle also holds symbolic importance in other religious and spiritual traditions. In Celtic mythology, for example, nettle was seen as a powerful herb that could ward off negative energy. The Celts believed that the plant had protective qualities and could be used in rituals to keep harmful forces at bay. Similarly, in other pagan traditions, nettle was used in various forms of magic, including protective spells and charms. The plant's ability to thrive in tough environments and its sharp defensive nature made it an ideal symbol of protection and defense against malevolent forces. Beyond its associations with ancient religions and healing practices, nettle also plays a significant role in the folklore of many cultures. In some cultures, nettle was seen as a symbol of protection against curses or hexes. It was believed that carrying a bundle of nettle could shield a person from evil spirits or harmful intentions. The plant's sharp stingers were seen as a natural defense against the unseen forces that might seek to harm an individual. In this way, nettle was not only a physical remedy, but also a spiritual one, offering a form of defense against both physical and metaphysical dangers. In more recent times, nettle has continued to hold symbolic significance, particularly in the realms of herbalism and natural medicine. Its reputation as a healing plant has only grown, with modern herbalists recognizing its many therapeutic benefits, including its ability to support the immune system, improve circulation, and promote overall well-being. Nettle has become a symbol of natural healing, a reminder that nature itself provides the remedies we need to heal and restore balance in our lives. In this sense, nettle is not only a historical symbol, but also a modern one, bridging the past and present in its continued use for health and well-being. As we delve into the symbolism and historical context of nettle, we begin to see that it is far more than just a prickly plant. From its medicinal uses in ancient Egypt and Rome, to its associations with strength and protection in folklore and mythology, nettle has been a plant of great importance throughout history. It has symbolized healing, resilience, and transformation, and its connection to suffering and purification can be found in both ancient spiritual practices and modern interpretations. As we continue to explore the significance of nettle, we will also examine its role in the Bible and how it might serve as a powerful symbol for spiritual growth and renewal. So, stay with us until the end of this video as we unravel the deep connections between nettle and the sacred texts, revealing how this seemingly simple plant holds profound spiritual significance. Understanding nettle's place in history and its symbolism will offer valuable insights into its role in our own lives and spiritual journeys today. The nettle, though not directly mentioned in the Bible, holds a significant place when we consider the symbolic language used throughout the scriptures. It is a plant that has been referenced in various ways, both literally and metaphorically, to describe suffering, purification, and divine judgment. The Bible often uses imagery from nature, including plants, to convey spiritual truths and to help people understand the deeper meaning behind life's trials. In this section, we will explore the role that the nettle might play within the biblical context, looking at indirect references and symbolic connections that bring the plant to life in the scriptures. While the word nettle is not specifically mentioned in most popular translations of the Bible, several passages refer to similar plants that share characteristics with the nettle. For example, the Bible makes mention of plants like thorns, briars, and brambles, plants that are often associated with pain, suffering, and hardship. The nettle, with its painful sting and rough texture, can be seen as part of this broader category of plants that symbolize difficulties in life. In biblical texts, these plants often appear in discussions of divine judgment or the consequences of sin, serving as metaphors for the hardships that come when people turn away from God. In the Old Testament, particularly in the book of Isaiah, the prophet uses plant imagery to describe the desolation and judgment that would come upon the land of Israel if the people failed to repent and follow God's commands. In Isaiah chapter 34, for instance, God pronounces judgment on the nations and declares that the land will be overrun with briars and thorns. This passage reads, "Thorns shall come up in her palaces, nettles and brambles in the fortresses thereof, and it shall be an habitation of dragons and a court for owls." While the term nettle is used here, it is important to understand that it refers to the symbolism of hardship, destruction, and judgment. The nettle in this passage is not just a physical plant, it is a representation of the spiritual consequences of sin and disobedience. The sting of the nettle in this case is a reflection of the sting of God's judgment on a nation that has turned away from righteousness. Similarly, in the book of Hosea, the prophet speaks of the destruction that will come upon Israel due to its idolatry and unfaithfulness. In Hosea chapter 10, the prophet says, "Sow to yourselves in righteousness, reap in mercy, break up your fallow ground, for it is time to seek the Lord, till he come and rain righteousness upon you. Ye have plowed wickedness, ye have reaped iniquity, ye have eaten the fruit of lies, because thou didst trust in thy way, in the multitude of thy mighty men. Therefore shall a tumult arise among thy people, and all thy fortresses shall be spoiled, as Shalman spoiled Betharbel in the day of battle. The mother was dashed in pieces upon her children." The imagery here, though not mentioning nettles explicitly, carries a similar sense of the painful consequences of sin and disobedience. Just as nettles are painful to the touch, the actions of the people bring about painful consequences that they must face. The symbolism of plants like nettles is also closely linked to the idea of spiritual purification. In the Old Testament, the process of purification often involved rituals that required sacrifice, repentance, and a turning away from sin. The nettle, with its sharp sting, can be seen as a metaphor for the discomfort that comes with repentance and spiritual cleansing. Just as the nettle causes immediate physical pain, the process of purging sin from one's life can be uncomfortable and painful. However, this discomfort is not without purpose. It serves to cleanse and purify. In this sense, the nettle can be seen as a symbol of the painful but necessary process of spiritual transformation. In the New Testament, the concept of suffering and purification is also prominent. The Apostle Paul frequently writes about the role of suffering in the Christian life, emphasizing that trials and hardships are not meaningless, but serve to refine believers and bring them closer to God. In Romans chapter 5, Paul writes, "And not only so, but we glory in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation worketh patience, and patience experience, and experience hope, and hope maketh not ashamed, because the love of God is shed abroad in our hearts by the Holy Ghost which is given unto us." Here Paul speaks of the spiritual growth that comes through suffering, a theme that aligns with the symbolism of the nettle. Just as the nettle causes pain, so too do the trials and tribulations of life. But just as the nettle's sting can lead to healing in the form of medicinal use, the discomfort of spiritual trials can lead to greater closeness with God and a deeper understanding of His love and grace. The Bible also speaks of the creation of a new heaven and earth, a time when God will restore all things and remove the suffering that has plagued humanity. In Revelation chapter 21, it is written, "And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away." This passage speaks of a time when the pain and suffering that are so often symbolized by plants like nettles will no longer exist. The world will be healed and restored, and all things will be made new. In this context, the nettle can be seen as a symbol of the temporary nature of suffering. While nettles may bring pain in the present, they are ultimately part of a fallen world that will one day be redeemed. The promise of a new heaven and earth is a reminder that the difficulties of this life are not permanent, and that God will bring ultimate healing and restoration. There is also a significant connection between the idea of the nettle and the notion of spiritual warfare in the Bible. Just as nettles can serve as a natural defense against unwanted contact, spiritual struggles and battles can be a way for believers to grow stronger in their faith and trust in God. In the book of Ephesians, Paul writes about putting on the armor of God to stand against the forces of evil. "Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of His might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." The armor of God, which includes the belt of truth, the breastplate of righteousness, the shield of faith, and the sword of the Spirit, is a defense against the evil forces that seek to harm believers. The nettle, in a symbolic sense, can be viewed as a reminder of the need for spiritual protection and the strength that comes through enduring hardship. Finally, the imagery of the nettle can also remind us of the importance of enduring faith and perseverance. Just as the nettle can survive in difficult conditions, Christians are called to endure through hardship and remain faithful even in the face of trials. In the book of James it is written, "My brethren, count it all joy when ye fall into divers temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing." The nettle, with its ability to thrive even in challenging environments, serves as a powerful metaphor for perseverance and the strength that comes from enduring faith. Christians are encouraged to view their trials not as obstacles, but as opportunities to grow in faith, much like the nettle grows in harsh conditions and yet remains strong. Through these various passages, we can see that the symbolism of the nettle in the Bible is deeply connected to themes of suffering, purification, spiritual growth, and perseverance. While the nettle itself may not be explicitly mentioned in every passage, the plant serves as a powerful metaphor for the challenges and trials that believers face. The sting of the nettle is a reminder that pain and hardship are part of the journey of faith, but they are also opportunities for growth and transformation. The Bible encourages believers to endure through trials, knowing that suffering is not in vain, and that through it they can draw closer to God and experience His healing and restoration. The nettle, in its symbolism, teaches us to embrace the challenges of life and trust that they are part of God's greater plan for our spiritual growth. The nettle, often regarded as a common nuisance due to its sharp stings, is a powerful symbol in both spiritual and moral contexts. While its prickly nature makes it seem like something to be avoided, its deeper meaning offers insights into the human experience, morality, and the spiritual journey. The nettle serves as a metaphor for many aspects of life, from suffering and discipline to healing and growth, making it an important symbol in various religious and philosophical traditions. In the Bible, although the nettle itself is not directly mentioned in all translations, the imagery of thorny plants, such as thistles and thorns, carries deep spiritual connotations. These plants often represent suffering, sin, and the challenges that arise from human disobedience. The symbolism of the nettle as a prickly, uncomfortable plant aligns with these themes, offering insight into how spiritual and moral struggles manifest in our lives. Just as the nettle causes physical discomfort when touched, sin and moral failure cause spiritual discomfort that leads to suffering. In this sense, the nettle can be seen as an embodiment of the consequences of straying from the right path. On a deeper spiritual level, the nettle represents the idea of purification through hardship. Just as nettles grow in poor, often neglected soils, they symbolize the uncomfortable but necessary process of purification and transformation that happens when we face trials and tribulations. Many religious and spiritual traditions teach that suffering is an essential part of the human journey, and it is through these difficult moments that individuals are refined and drawn closer to the divine. The sting of the nettle can be seen as a reminder that spiritual growth often comes through trials that may cause discomfort, but ultimately lead to strength and understanding. The moral implications of the nettle can also be viewed in terms of discipline and correction. In many religious teachings, discipline is necessary for growth, both morally and spiritually. Just as the nettle pricks anyone who ventures too close, life's moral challenges act as a kind of divine correction, pointing us back to the right path. The discomfort caused by the nettle's sting is like the consequences of immoral actions. It serves as a warning. Just as the sting of the nettle teaches us to avoid it in the future, the moral consequences of our actions teach us the importance of following a righteous path. The nettle's presence is a reminder that morality is not always easy. It requires vigilance, discipline, and the willingness to endure discomfort in the pursuit of righteousness. Moreover, the nettle can symbolize the need for resilience in the face of adversity. In many spiritual teachings, resilience is seen as a virtue. Just as the nettle endures harsh conditions, growing in neglected areas and thriving despite poor soil, individuals too must learn to endure through difficult times. Resilience is not just about enduring pain, but about growing through it. The nettle, with its sharp sting and ability to thrive in adversity, represents the strength required to rise above suffering and emerge stronger. In a spiritual sense, resilience teaches us that we are capable of withstanding life's challenges if we rely on inner strength and trust in a higher power. In the moral context, the nettle represents the idea of learning from adversity. Just as a person who encounters a nettle learns to approach it with caution in the future, the moral lessons we learn from our failures and missteps help us grow and make better choices moving forward. This moral growth is not always immediate or easy, but it is an integral part of the human experience. The sting of the nettle serves as a reminder that life's lessons, though painful, are necessary for our development as individuals with a moral compass. It is through these experiences that we come to understand the importance of making wise decisions and living according to our values. From a spiritual perspective, the nettle can be seen as a symbol of spiritual resistance. In many teachings, spiritual resistance is seen as the ability to resist the temptations and distractions of the world in order to stay true to one's faith and values. Just as the nettle's sharpness protects it from being easily consumed or ignored, spiritual resistance protects individuals from falling into sin or moral decay. The nettle's ability to ward off those who seek to harm it makes it a fitting symbol of the spiritual fortitude required to remain steadfast in the face of temptation. The prickliness of the nettle teaches that true spiritual strength comes not from avoiding hardship, but from facing it with courage and resolve. In some traditions, the nettle is also seen as a symbol of healing. While its sting is painful, nettles have long been used in herbal medicine for their medicinal properties, including their ability to heal certain conditions and promote well-being. This duality, pain and healing, mirrors the spiritual process of transformation. Just as nettles can cause pain yet have the power to heal, life's hardships can lead to personal and spiritual healing. In a moral sense, this suggests that while facing consequences for wrongdoing can be painful, it is ultimately through facing and overcoming these consequences that we find healing and redemption. The nettle, in this sense, symbolizes the idea that growth and healing often come through difficult experiences. The nettle's symbolism in spiritual and moral contexts can also be connected to the concept of humility. As a plant that thrives in the most difficult conditions, the nettle teaches humility by showing that even in the most humble or adverse situations, there is value and purpose. In many spiritual traditions, humility is seen as a virtue that helps individuals align with the divine will. The nettle, growing in harsh environments, demonstrates that value is not dependent on external circumstances. It teaches us that humility does not come from status or ease, but from the willingness to endure hardships and remain faithful despite challenges. Just as the nettle survives in tough conditions, humility is cultivated through perseverance in the face of adversity. In the broader moral sense, the nettle represents the consequences of ignoring the lessons that life offers. Just as failing to avoid the sting of the nettle leads to discomfort, ignoring moral guidance or choosing to ignore the consequences of one's actions leads to moral discomfort. The nettle serves as a constant reminder that actions have consequences, and it is only by paying attention to these lessons that we can avoid unnecessary pain. In this way, the nettle symbolizes the importance of moral awareness and the necessity of taking responsibility for one's actions. It teaches that while we cannot always avoid suffering, we can learn from it and make better choices in the future. Ultimately, the nettle serves as a powerful symbol of both the challenges and opportunities that life presents. It represents the discomfort and suffering that are often a part of the spiritual and moral journey, but also the potential for growth, resilience, healing, and redemption that these experiences offer. Just as the nettle endures in tough conditions and provides healing through its sting, we too can endure life's challenges and emerge stronger, wiser, and more aligned with our spiritual and moral values. The nettle, with its sharpness and healing properties, reminds us that true growth and transformation often arise from the most difficult and uncomfortable experiences. Through the nettle, we are reminded that in our spiritual and moral lives, suffering is not the end, but a means to a greater purpose. In modern spirituality, nettles hold significant symbolism that transcends their physical characteristics. While traditionally known for their sting and discomfort, the nettle plant is also viewed as a symbol of resilience, transformation, and healing. In today's world, where the search for deeper meaning and personal growth is central to many spiritual practices, The nettle is often seen as a plant that embodies the necessary challenges and rewards that come with inner work, mindfulness, and self-discovery. Through its symbolism, the nettle serves as a reminder that growth, both spiritually and personally, often requires us to face discomfort, confront our vulnerabilities, and push through resistance in order to achieve true healing and understanding. One of the key aspects of modern spirituality is the recognition of the transformative power of suffering and hardship. Many spiritual teachings, whether in the context of mindfulness, meditation, or personal growth, emphasize that life's challenges can serve as opportunities for spiritual awakening and self-improvement. Just as the nettle's sting is uncomfortable yet momentarily brief, life's difficulties are often temporary but can lead to long-term growth if approached with the right mindset. In modern spiritual practices, the nettle's sting is viewed as a metaphor for those painful but necessary experiences that, when embraced, help individuals shed old patterns, overcome limiting beliefs, and emerge stronger and more resilient. The nettle is also seen as a symbol of resilience in modern spirituality. As a plant that thrives in difficult conditions, it teaches that growth is not only possible, but often thrives in adversity. This aligns with the modern spiritual concept of post-traumatic growth, which suggests that individuals can emerge from traumatic experiences with a greater sense of purpose, clarity, and strength. The nettle's ability to grow in harsh, neglected environments serves as a reminder that, even in our most challenging moments, there is an inherent strength within us that allows us to persevere and continue to evolve. This is reflected in the idea that spiritual growth often comes from overcoming obstacles and moving through difficult times with grace and determination. In contemporary spirituality, the nettle is also associated with the idea of purification. In many modern spiritual practices, purification is seen as a key step on the path to enlightenment or self-realization. Just as the nettle has a cleansing effect on the body in herbal medicine, it is symbolically linked to the process of spiritual cleansing in modern practices. Spiritual purification often involves confronting and releasing negative emotions, thought patterns, and attachments that no longer serve us. The sting of the nettle can be seen as an invitation to face our inner discomforts and traumas, allowing us to release what no longer serves our higher purpose and align ourselves with a more authentic and liberated state of being. Furthermore, the nettle is often connected to the idea of protection in modern spiritual thought. In many spiritual traditions, the concept of spiritual protection is important, as it involves guarding oneself from negative energies, harmful influences, or toxic relationships. The nettle, with its sharp and protective nature, serves as a symbol of this kind of defense. Just as the nettle's sting protects it from being easily consumed or harmed, individuals are encouraged in modern spirituality to develop their own protective boundaries, both internally and externally. This can involve cultivating mental and emotional resilience, setting healthy boundaries with others, and protecting one's energy from negative influences that may hinder spiritual progress. In the practice of mindfulness and meditation, nettles are often invoked as a symbol of the necessity of facing discomfort in order to achieve peace. Modern meditation practices frequently emphasize the importance of being present with discomfort rather than avoiding or suppressing it. The nettle's sting symbolizes this concept. Just as one must confront the nettle in order to engage with it, so too must individuals confront their discomfort, whether it be emotional, psychological, or spiritual, in order to move through it and find deeper peace. By acknowledging and accepting discomfort, one can cultivate a greater sense of inner peace and clarity, much like how one can learn to accept the sting of the nettle as part of the natural experience of life. The nettle also plays a role in the healing practices that have become increasingly popular in modern spiritual communities. In herbal medicine, nettles are used for their healing properties, which include anti-inflammatory benefits and support for the immune system. In modern spirituality, this idea of physical healing through the nettle extends to the notion of emotional and spiritual healing. The nettle is often seen as a plant that, while it may cause discomfort, also offers the potential for renewal and recovery. This duality mirrors the process of emotional healing, where the release of suppressed emotions or confronting painful truths may initially cause discomfort, but ultimately lead to a healthier and more balanced state of being. Healing, in this sense, is not about avoiding pain, but about embracing the process of healing through it, much like how the nettle with its sting cleanses and revitalizes. The modern concept of the wounded healer also aligns with the symbolism of the nettle in spiritual practices. The wounded healer is a figure who has experienced deep suffering and has used that pain to heal others. In many contemporary spiritual communities, there is a growing emphasis on how personal struggles and challenges can lead to a greater capacity for empathy, understanding, and healing in others. The nettle, with its capacity to cause pain, but also its medicinal qualities, symbolizes the idea that personal suffering can become a source of healing for others. Just as the nettle's sting can help clear toxins from the body, the experiences of struggle and adversity in one's life can lead to a deeper understanding of the human condition and a greater ability to help others who are facing similar challenges. In the broader context of spiritual practices, the nettle is also a reminder of the importance of balance. Many modern spiritual teachings emphasize the need for balance in all areas of life, whether it be between action and stillness, the material and the spiritual, or the self and the collective. The nettle, in its natural environment, grows in harmony with other plants and contributes to the ecosystem in a way that is beneficial to the whole. Similarly, in modern spirituality, individuals are encouraged to find balance in their own lives by embracing both the light and the shadow, the easy and the difficult, the joyful and the painful. The nettle, with its combination of pain and healing, challenges individuals to accept the full spectrum of human experience and to cultivate a sense of wholeness that includes all aspects of life. The nettle also symbolizes the idea of empowerment through adversity in modern spirituality. Empowerment in this context refers to the ability to take ownership of one's life and spiritual journey, despite the challenges or setbacks that may arise. The nettle's ability to thrive in poor soil and harsh conditions serves as a metaphor for the spiritual empowerment that comes from overcoming difficult circumstances. Just as the nettle is often underestimated because of its painful sting, individuals who face adversity can emerge stronger, more confident, and more aware of their own power. The nettle therefore serves as a symbol of the strength and resilience that lies within each of us, waiting to be activated through life's challenges. In modern spiritual circles, the nettle is also embraced as a plant of personal transformation. As a plant that can be both painful and medicinal, the nettle represents the process of transformation that often comes through discomfort and hardship. The sting of the nettle, though initially painful, can lead to a deeper connection to the body, mind, and spirit. In the same way, the difficulties we face in our lives can lead to profound personal transformation, allowing us to shed old patterns, beliefs, and limitations in order to step into a more authentic and empowered version of ourselves. The nettle, in modern spirituality, ultimately teaches that suffering, discomfort, and challenges are not to be feared, but embraced as necessary components of personal and spiritual growth. By facing our discomforts head-on, much like encountering the nettle, we open ourselves to healing, transformation, and empowerment. The nettle's sharpness and resilience serve as a reminder that growth often comes from overcoming adversity, and that through facing discomfort, we can find a deeper sense of peace, purpose, and connection to ourselves and the world around us. In this way, the nettle, both as a plant and as a symbol, provides valuable lessons in resilience, healing, and the transformative power of life's challenges. In various religions and cultures across the world, the nettle holds diverse meanings and symbolic value. often carrying both positive and negative associations. From its medicinal properties to its place in folklore, the nettle has been recognized for its strength, resilience, and ability to thrive in difficult conditions. While in some cultures it is seen as a symbol of protection, purification, or resilience, in others, it has been viewed with suspicion or even fear due to its ability to cause physical discomfort. The multifaceted nature of the nettle in cultural contexts reveals much about the human experience of growth, suffering, and healing. In many ancient cultures, plants, including the nettle, were regarded as having spiritual significance. For example, in Norse mythology, the nettle was often associated with the god Thor, the protector of mankind. Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, was believed to be capable of both destruction and creation, and in a similar way, the nettle represented the dual nature of existence, offering both pain and healing. In these traditions, the nettle symbolized both protection and a reminder of the strength needed to overcome challenges. Just as Thor was seen as a protector against chaos, the nettle was considered a plant that could ward off negative energies and offer a kind of spiritual fortification. In Celtic traditions, nettles were also seen as plants of great importance. The Celts had a deep connection with nature, and many plants were viewed as possessing powers that could influence both physical and spiritual realms. The nettle was used in various rituals and was believed to provide protection against evil spirits and illness. It was common to see nettles hung in doorways or used in protective charms. The sharp, stinging nature of the nettle was symbolic of its ability to guard against threats, and it was seen as a plant that could establish boundaries and protect one's home and family. It was also used in rituals to promote healing, as it was thought to help cleanse the body and spirit of negative influences. In Eastern spiritual traditions, such as Hinduism and Buddhism, plants like the nettle may not be as widely discussed, but the symbolic importance of plants in general plays a crucial role. Many plants are seen as embodying spiritual lessons or serving as metaphors for certain qualities or teachings. The nettle, with its ability to sting and heal, could be understood as representing the paradox of suffering leading to wisdom and spiritual growth. In Hinduism, the idea of duality is prevalent. Every experience, whether pleasurable or painful, is seen as an opportunity for spiritual growth and enlightenment. In this light, the nettle could be understood as a symbol of life's inevitable difficulties, which, when approached with mindfulness, can lead to deeper understanding and liberation from attachment and suffering. In Native American cultures, plants are often considered to be spiritual allies that possess wisdom and power. The nettle has been used by several indigenous groups for medicinal and ceremonial purposes. Known for its strong healing properties, nettle was often utilized in remedies for pain, inflammation, and detoxification. The plant's dual nature, being both painful and healing, made it a symbol of the balance between opposites. It represented the idea that growth often comes through hardship, and healing often requires a confrontation with pain. The plant's stinging ability was seen not as something to fear, but rather as a powerful tool that, when respected, could provide protection and healing. In African spiritual traditions, plants are often deeply connected to ancestral practices and healing rituals. The nettle is not as commonly discussed as some other plants, but similar to other cultures, African traditions place great importance on the concept of protection and healing. Nettle, with its stinging defense mechanism, would likely be seen as a plant capable of warding off negative energies or spiritual attacks. The presence of such plants in the spiritual practices of various African cultures symbolizes the power of nature to protect and heal, as well as the understanding that life's challenges, represented by plants like nettle, can bring about growth and strength. In Christianity, while the nettle is not specifically mentioned in the Bible, its symbolic presence can be inferred from its association with other thorny or stinging plants. The idea of suffering leading to spiritual growth is a central theme in Christian teachings. Christ's suffering on the cross is seen as a transformative experience, not only for him, but for all humanity. Similarly, the nettle, with its ability to sting and cause discomfort, can be seen as a metaphor for the suffering that individuals may endure in their spiritual journey. Just as Christ's suffering led to resurrection and renewal, the nettle's sting could symbolize the spiritual growth that comes through facing adversity and enduring hardship. In modern spiritual practices, particularly in the field of holistic healing and environmentalism, the nettle has regained attention as a symbol of resilience, healing, and protection. In holistic medicine, nettle is celebrated for its ability to cleanse the body and mind, offering detoxification and purifying energy. Its medicinal uses in modern herbalism highlight its role in helping with conditions like inflammation, arthritis, and allergies, emphasizing the idea of healing through nature's gifts. In this context, the nettle can be seen as a symbol of the healing power of the natural world, a reminder that nature provides the tools necessary for both physical and spiritual well-being. The nettle's role in the modern-day spiritual and environmental movements also reflects the growing awareness of the interconnectedness of all living things. The use of the nettle in modern rituals or practices that focus on protection, cleansing, and healing emphasizes the importance of respect for nature and the belief that the natural world holds the keys to human well-being. This connection with nature is central to many spiritual practices today, as individuals seek to reconnect with the earth and learn from its wisdom. While the nettle may not be revered in the same way in every culture or religion, it represents an important and universal concept, the duality of life. Its ability to cause pain while also offering healing reflects the spiritual truth that suffering and growth are intimately linked. Whether used in ancient rituals, healing practices, or as a symbol of strength and protection, the nettle serves as a reminder that both hardship and healing are necessary parts of the human experience. By embracing both aspects of the nettle, its sting and its healing power, cultures and individuals alike can learn to navigate the challenges of life with resilience, wisdom, and grace. As we come to the end of this exploration into the symbolic, historical, and spiritual significance of the nettle, it is important to reflect on the deeper lessons that this plant offers. The nettle, with its dual nature of pain and healing, invites us to consider the complexity of our own spiritual journeys. It teaches us that life is not simply a path of comfort and ease, but rather a journey through hardship and growth. In its sharp sting and its potential for healing, the nettle reflects the reality that we must often face adversity in order to grow and transform. Just as the nettle thrives in difficult conditions, so too can we emerge stronger and wiser when we confront the challenges in our lives. One of the central lessons the nettle imparts is the idea of resilience. The nettle is a hardy plant, able to survive and even flourish in harsh environments. It does not shy away from difficult conditions, but instead grows in places where many other plants would wither. This resilience is symbolic of the human spirit, which often faces trials and tribulations, yet has the capacity to endure and even thrive. The nettle's ability to grow despite adversity serves as a reminder that we too have the strength to overcome the challenges we face. It calls on us to embrace the difficulties of life, not as obstacles to be avoided, but as opportunities for growth and transformation. The nettle also teaches us about the nature of suffering. In many spiritual traditions, suffering is seen as an inevitable part of the human experience, one that carries the potential for wisdom and enlightenment. The sharp sting of the nettle can be likened to the painful experiences we endure in our lives. However, just as the nettle's sting is followed by its healing properties, so too can our suffering lead to healing and spiritual growth. Suffering, when approached with mindfulness and an open heart, can be a powerful catalyst for transformation. The nettle's duality, its ability to both cause pain and offer healing, reminds us that our pain can be a gateway to deeper understanding and spiritual awakening. Through our suffering, we may gain new perspectives, develop greater compassion, and ultimately come to a deeper sense of peace and wholeness. The nettle's symbolism extends beyond personal resilience and suffering to include the concept of protection. In many cultures, the nettle was used to ward off negative energies and protect the home from harm. This idea of protection is not just about guarding oneself from external threats, but also about creating boundaries and cultivating inner strength. The nettle's sharpness is a reminder that we must sometimes set clear boundaries in our lives to protect our spiritual well-being. Just as the nettle defends itself from those who would harm it, we too must learn to defend our inner peace and protect ourselves from negativity. This can involve setting emotional boundaries with others, resisting harmful influences, and creating a space where we can nurture our spiritual growth. In addition to its lessons on resilience, suffering, and protection, the nettle also calls us to reflect on the nature of healing. The nettle, despite its sting, has been used for centuries as a medicinal plant. It is known for its ability to heal ailments such as inflammation, allergies, and joint pain. This healing property invites us to consider the ways in which we, too, can heal ourselves. Just as the nettle has the ability to cleanse and purify, so too can we cleanse our hearts and minds of negativity and pain. Healing, like the nettle, is a process that requires patience, care, and respect for the natural rhythms of life. The nettle's ability to heal us physically also invites us to consider the healing of our spirits. By embracing the lessons of the nettle, we can find ways to heal not just our bodies, but also our hearts and minds, allowing us to become whole once again. The nettle's significance also lies in its connection to the earth and the natural world. Many spiritual traditions emphasize the importance of reconnecting with nature as a means of healing and spiritual growth. The nettle, with its deep roots and connection to the earth, serves as a powerful symbol of our own need to stay grounded and connected to the world around us. In a world that often feels disconnected and chaotic, the nettle reminds us of the importance of cultivating a deep connection to nature and to the rhythms of the earth. By doing so, we can find balance, peace, and a sense of purpose. Just as the nettle thrives in its natural environment, we too can flourish when we align ourselves with the natural flow of life and the wisdom of the earth. Furthermore, the nettle teaches us about the importance of balance. It is a plant that embodies both the light and the dark, the painful and the healing. This duality reflects the balance that we must cultivate in our own lives. Life is not only about seeking pleasure and avoiding pain, but rather about learning to embrace both the light and the dark, the joy and the sorrow. The nettle shows us that both sides of life are necessary for our growth and spiritual evolution. Without pain, we cannot fully appreciate joy. Without challenges, we cannot fully understand the value of peace. The nettle's balanced nature reminds us that we must embrace all aspects of life, knowing that each experience, whether positive or negative, contributes to our overall growth and development. In conclusion, the nettle offers profound spiritual lessons that are relevant not only in ancient traditions, but also in our modern lives. Its symbolism of resilience, protection, healing, and balance speaks to the universal human experience. It challenges us to face adversity with strength and grace, to embrace suffering as an opportunity for growth, to set boundaries for our spiritual well-being, and to heal ourselves with patience and care. The nettle calls us to reconnect with the earth and to find balance in our lives, recognizing that both light and dark, joy and sorrow, are integral parts of the human journey. By reflecting on the lessons of the nettle, we can gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and our spiritual path, ultimately leading to greater peace, wisdom, and wholeness.